How pyramids work. Quantum resonance machines to distribute fine energy and of a very high frequency quality. Its name comes from the Greek pyros, which means fire, and middle, fire in the middle, just like teocalli in Nahuatl, energy container, which tell us that the energetic essence is always in the center, in the navel heart of everything, just as the Toltecayo teaches it through this formula: center, balance, and fluidity. Everything has to be in the right middle to obtain balance, and hence all energy flows efficiently and harmonizes the polarity in an energetic synthesis in order to create a third force that brings balance. Everything within this tonality matrix is based on harmonizing the polarity to return to unity within a synchronicity and with the correct wave phase to leave the vibrations. In Spanish we say vibración, referring the snake, víbora. The vibration of the density to enter the fuel state of as within, so without. Polarity are two complementary magnetic forces that collaborate together for a common purpose in union. We live inside of a hologram projected on a multidimensional plane that works like a huge magnetron that distributes sound to convert it into magnetism and then turning into electricity, which is pulsing all the time at a frequency with a rhythm that has been altered and modified to enter the paradigm of time and space, out of sync, which molds all projected reality according to its waveform and frequency, which forces everything to vibrate on this plane. We live in waves within waves in a fractal manner. Therefore, the Earth is a motherboard full of energy, sound, magnetism, and electricity, where the poles converge from a generating heart center, serving as an engine with a super battery where the dynamism of two currents rotate and meet in a center, and rotate on themselves, generating left-hand and right-hand vortices. And that is partly why the pyramids were built, to collect that energy and collect it for use in various ways. The shape of the pyramids harvested the energy of the ether and the earth to generate a strong magnoelectric and sound field, pairing the electric ions into a stationary wave column of scalar energy that produced various frequencies extracted from the resonance of the ether, functioning as an implosion resonator, confining the ions within a toroid, forming a highly electrically conducting magnetic field of gases called plasma. To complete the circuit, water was required, which is a liquid crystal with sodium positive and chloride negative ions for the correct energy conduction, where the rotation of the ions inside this toroid, which generated the teocalli or pyramid with the help of a coil of toroidal copper. A supervortex was created, derived from the centrifugal and centripetal force when the rotating and high speeds, where a positive vortex created a negative one around itself to create neutrality that our ancestors called ometeot, annulling to create scalar energy, which passed through the 9 energy steps of the platforms of the Teocalli pyramid, were paired neutralizing each other to find a new axis of the rotation at 90 degrees from the axis of the pyramid, producing an undulating stationary column with neutral charges that go in turns from 0 to 9, climbing steps of energy, which are absorbed from the Earth, to later come out in the form of light and then return. Thus, the rotation of the ions within the etheric magnoelectric field was converted into sound reverberations to generate scalar energy, and for that a reactor or a resonator was necessary, which was the coil. These machines had a magnetron, so that ions in the magnetic field interact with a microwave current from the resonator in order to generate a high-frequency signal. Vortices plus coils equal resonators. A magnetron can generate high frequencies as it is a highly efficient, amplitude, stable, and durable power converter and regulator. In it, ions in the magnetic field interact with a microwave current from the resonator, inducing them to oscillate, generating a high-frequency signal. TEOKALIS and pyramids act as quantum resonators of energy, transmitting the resonance of the ions to generate cold electricity transmitted by the ether to be stored in batteries or capacitors such as obelisks, columns. Within the circuit, both tunnels and underground channels filled with water and mercury were used, as it was found in the Quetzalcoatl pyramid in Teotihuacan, Mexico, to achieve the perfect energy connectivity and thus make an alchemy to amalgamate metals to produce more scalar energy vortices. As well as underground chambers, which were the resonators, which contained quartz and alabaster bowls with water, as well as being lined with ceramics to amplify the resonance and distribute it in various frequencies. The sound of the chambers and bowls reverberated inside the pyramid, hence its name in Greek, pyramid, pyros, inner fire in the middle, to force the elements of the ether to resonate to create high frequency energy and electricity, to be used for lighting and also for the therapeutic use of the body, since it resonates within the cells that are energy storage cells of the body, for the perfect alignment of the wave of each being, since the body is formed by the same ions of the ether and water 100%, liquid crystal that works as a resonator and a piezoelectric to produce its own energy. Thus, the alabaster bowls and chambers covered with ceramics reach their maximum power when they are inside crystal spaces, as in the case of our body of silicon and minerals, and quartz in the pyramids. That is why each initiated was introduced to a specific chamber according to its frequency, to enter to resonate with some frequency of a musical note, to cleanse your body through the power of sound, the mother of all this creation. These machines were the true restaurants. They were already used to restore the form of wave of each human body, which using sound and scalar energy connected to the earth. deionized and protected the environment, like a Faraday cage does, from all external radio frequency, both from the stars and from artificial technology, to free the body, the necessary conduction, and return to the original waveform, from the radiant heart, to overcome the transverse waveform that decays and anchors us to the density of matter. In this way, they were climbing steps of energy according to the frequency of each initiate to achieve their own self-transformation, to become a Quetzalcoatl, to unite the earth and the sky, developing as a warrior within the horizontal plane without falling into the temptations of the tonally plane matrix, fighting its own flourish war against physical parasites and the mind with its emotions, in order to grow the verticality of life from its heart center and thus reach the correct waveform, returning to synchronicity outside of time, outside of Chronos, living the necessary time in an autonomous and self-sustaining way, connected with their being, with their soul, neutralizing the larval body and all external interference. That implies to win the flourish battle of every being here on this planet in order to ascend out of this holographic matrix. That is partly why they built these quantum machines, since when the giant silicon trees were cut in the past, the original connection was lost, terraforming the entire planet through different cataclysms and modifying all internal life, changing the form of wave, the frequency, creating the Schumann frequency, altering the original cycles, implanting a solid dome, the artificial coils like the sun, the moon, and all the stars that are stuck to the dome electromagnetically, creating an ionizing environment where they put the electricity that anchor us to implement his mind to be able to project the illusory reality based on light, in the division in colors, in mental manipulation, to extract energy and treat us like batteries to feed the human farm, getting us into the collective dream of the planet, to fall asleep and make us play his game inside his mind with full emotions. Thus, they built the TEOKALIS and pyramids to maintain high consciousness, creating coils of high range of frequencies to absorb all the ionization and kill the physical parasites, to return to the body to an original resonance environment. Hence, the fact that the predatory system thus resets when the human being begins to gain consciousness and in turn free himself. They deactivate everything again, creating cataclysms, colonizing all the initiatic and free cultures of the planet, until erasing their historical and cultural memory that carries with it all the technological and spiritual information in order to turn them into slaves of the energy extraction system. Within the science of these TEOKALIS pyramids, materials were used for the perfect energy conduction. The main stones for its constructions are granite, which is a plutonic igneous rock composed of quartz, mica, and feldspar. Thanks to its composition, granite is positioned as one of the hardest and most resistant natural stones, being one of the most used for construction and decoration along with marble. Granite is formed thanks to the solidification of silicon magma. Hence, its granular appearance and quartz texture. Its natural formation also offers authentic precious pieces going from the lightest shades, such as gray or earth tones, to the darkest, such as black, which were lined and reinforced with quartz crystals and materials such as mica. The quartz activated the circuit since its molecules are in the shape of tetrahedron, which when entering into resonance with the magnetic poles of the planet, makes them resonate with greater frequency. The quartz mass subjected to this constant mechanical stress produced friction between the crystal tetrahedrons on the Teokalis surface, generating a negative electrical charge, producing the piezoelectric effect, accumulating electrical charges, generating high voltages, producing electrical frequencies and ultrasound waves. A piezoelectric is the electrical result of pressure and latent heat that builds up certain solid materials such as glass and ceramics, as well as in biological matter such as bone and DNA in our bodies, in response to the application of mechanical stress and dynamic. The mass of the stone will become a gigantic condenser of energy. There are two types of quartz. The first ones are what, when vibrating, produce a negative electric charge, lead-handed quartz, which were placed inside the internal stones of the pyramid, and right-handed quartz, which produce a negative charge, which were placed on the granite slab, the surface of the pyramid. An intermediate layer of pumice stone pyramid was placed, which functioned as a dielectric, is a perfect insulator in order to harvest the ions of the planet from the earth and to ground it. These giant quantum resonators were used to generate waves of specific frequencies or to select frequencies from an outside signal. Likewise, the pyramids capture the universal vortices, one of the greatest secrets of humanity, maybe in the cosmic vortices of the dome, where the pyramids channel the toroidal energy, directing it from the magnetic vortex of the dome towards the earth. This process alters the magnetism, generating magnetic fields, altering the electricity of the bodies, the density and the mass, where at higher altitudes more energy is harvested, serving as antennas to lower it to the ground and thus transform it into deionized energy and distribute it to the environment in a clean, wireless, and safe way. It has also been discovered that the water molecule is a polymer made of 5 H2O structures, from which the measure of the Great Pyramid of Egypt and Mexico was taken. This gives us the basis that is the structure of life and how the water organizes itself, distributing its energy through the vortices and strongly structured hydrogen bonds, where vortices are created which structure the water in a biomagnetic way to balance the bodies, remembering that we are a 100% water body, which tends to be in balance with a neutral pH, with fire in the center, the energy imbalance. The pyramids also have medicinal therapeutic properties, where it has been proven how their energy and resonance fields can keep all kinds of matter and liquid within their influence preserved without putrefaction, fermentation, or deterioration in a physical matter. That is why our body works in the same way, having the balance from the heart navel working with the expansive radial spiritual wave, pulsating in the right frequency, achieving a synthesis of energy, harmonizing the polarity. It's how the water really it keeps energetic pure and flowing in harmony from the balance in the center to return to the original spiritual waveform, and in turn balance the forces on earth. Those are the messages of the water. Remembering that the planet works based on sound deriving in various frequencies that we call fractals, which depending on the frequency that is emitting will cause a certain projection that we must each being to project individually out of the collective ground, programmed to based on beliefs, paradigms, and dogmas, from the intention and using coherence as a tool, taking into account breathing at the correct frequency in order to control the pulse of the heart and in turn to the blood pressure in the same direction, all three together, but also unifying our feelings, words, and actions to generate the correct frequency that allowed us to perceive and project reality based on our experiences, following the natural order in harmony and sync with others to be able to interact in resonance and thus enter the form of wave of our Nawali, of the totality, harmonizing the tonali, the coat, that serpent that symbolizes the material dance, so that the precious bird, the Quetzal, merge with the Coat, and the Quetzalcoatl is created, evolving, knowing how to live in the horizontally of life in order to ascend towards the verticality of life. So, always remember to honor your word is the first Toltec agreement, since this is sound and generates frequencies that interact with the quantum field and help to order the chaos, to start creating the most beautiful symphony in harmony with your melanin melody inside of you, out of time, to enter the appropriate waveform in resonance, where the initiate decides to self-transform, to flourish the soul with all its strength, and from there the spirit is connected with the essence from love, the highest of waves. The teokalis and pyramids were built together to form energetic spaces together with more constructions to complete the circuit, such as obelisk and other platforms that accompanied the enclosure, with the purpose of forging the warriors of the spirit, who sought to transform themselves to enter other levels of connection and consciousness, which will help them to modify their material frequency, helping to overcome the form of the dense wave and realize that each one is a god for being fractals of the original source in its essence. These places were schools of a high level of spirituality, that is, of connection, where each of the warriors or Masewalis were going to be put to the test to overcome their fears and the mind with their emotions, since they were going to carry out individual tests of internal confrontations using darkness, sound, magnetism to synchronize with their hearts, where the most advanced were great ascetics who had already freed themselves. They were freed from all physical attachments, such as food and sex, since they could fast from long periods of both, and in the same enclosure they entered a total fast for up to 40 days to purify their body and thus free themselves from the mind and its emotions. To overcome the difficult test of meditation in silence and in the dark, in addition to overcoming physical tests such as passing tunnels with crocodiles, swimming, or climbing hills and piercing acupuncture points with maguey thorns to purify their blood and release energy tensions from their bodies, and other more trials. That is why in Anahuac they gave the name of Teotihuacan to that place. That is very similar to the Egyptian place, since it means ancient place where the human becomes divine. We obtain the word from Nahuatl from the root Teotihuac, that means become divine, and the word Can, that means ancient place, which it could also be described as a sanctuary. And also Can means snake, that is representing matter, the density, and also the path of Quetzalcoatl, to reunite below and above in one. But we also find this word from the Runasimi of Peru, Huacan, that means mother religion, telling us that the mother religion is the one that we have inside, because we are gods and godliness, and that is why we don't need to worship anything external, and much less ask for anything outside, because we have everything inside, and hence we have its name, Teotihuacan, where finally each warrior towards a self-awareness of this and empower themselves to begin to take responsibility for projecting their own reality and consciously manifesting their multidimensionality, knowing how to move their feeding point, and starting to create fine energy from their hearts, connected to their soul, in order to achieve ascension and be able to live this holographic projection forever, escaping from the game of the Dermuge and the matrix of energy extraction from it. The pyramids and teokalis were built using high-end technology, governed by the principles of sound, magnetism, and electricity. The earth is perched on a plate-like plane, where sound is distributed through a pulse at various frequencies, shaping matter of all kinds, to later generate magnetism and electricity, the same forces that these quantum machines collected to create energy. These machines were built on energy vortices, like acupuncture points that are all over the planet, to take advantage of the energy contained therein. Frequency generating machines were used to mold the matter, likewise acoustic and magnetic levitation to place the enormous amount of granite blocks and other materials, being able to soften the stone like plasticine according to the frequency to which it was exposed, in addition to being able to melt and amalgamate all types of glass and metal with the help of liquid mercury exposed to electromagnetic fields. Look for the center of your heart navel, and there are all the answers. Your body is the temple of your soul. It's your own Teokali pyramid. Use it with mastery and respect. Find that fire, strength, and resonance in the center, and spread it with love and resonance forever. Ometeo.